I still have those moments of fear, anxiety, like depression and all that stuff. But then when I get there, it's easier as you're going through these things to recognize it and be like, this is just me being scared of this. Like, we've already talked about this. We've ran through all this. Like, it's going to be okay. And then you're like, and the more you do that, I think the easier it gets to be to recognize, see it, overcome it, and move on.
Podcasting commence.
3, 2,
podcasting.
1. Podcast.
Podcast.
Initiate podcast.
Been initiated. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
Our After Dark episode came out this week.
Yeah.
And it's so fun. I had so much fun go back and looking at it and cutting it and putting it together.
It was funny. So this morning we have the morning group at jiu-jitsu just keeps getting bigger. Right. And
let's bump that class up to like 6 o'clock, and then I'll be there.
I can't do 6 o'clock.
Well, sucks to be all of you guys.
Yeah. 6 o'clock doesn't work because a lot of us have got work.
Yeah. Quit your jobs.
Quit your jobs. Quit your jobs.
And work your jiu-jitsu around Craig's schedule.
There you go. Yeah. Who could just wake up earlier?
Guys, I'm going to be there about 8:30. So
it's just no one. You're like,
yeah.
I got. Where are you guys at?
I'm here.
Yeah, we were here 3 hours ago.
But it keeps getting bigger.
Keeps getting bigger. And this morning, and I obviously we want you people, to watch these episodes and to. It's not just like, hey, come watch me because I want you to watch me, but it's also very much like, hey, we're talking about some stuff, and this could be helpful for you, right? It could be helpful. It could be entertaining. It could be, you could learn to hate us.
Correct.
Right? Either way.
Could be too much of Craig and Ben.
It could be.
Yeah,
maybe not. But, young guy, I apologize. I don't remember your name right now. But he overheard us last week talking about the podcast episode had come out. We were talking about it. Somebody asked me a question, and he was like, "Oh, what's?" And so I told him about it. And this morning we're in the middle of rolling, and he's like, "Hey, I listened to your podcast," and I was like, well, "That's cool." And he's literally in guard, or he's in my guard, and we're rolling, and he's like, yeah, I really connected with, and I was like, okay, and he's telling me, and then he's like, and I'm really just enjoying, and then I put him in a triangle, and I was like, I'm sorry, stop talking, I'm going to smother you now, and like,
we can do the podcast review after I get done choking.
Yeah, I appreciate you watching. Joke. But it's been fun to have, I mean, obviously the After Dark episode I thought was great. I loved doing it. It was super fun. But I'm really happy with, we've had a lot of people who have said like, yeah, this has been a big deal for me and I really enjoy it. So that's,
Yeah, it's been really, really cool. I'm super grateful for it. I've been thinking about it because this is our kind of year-end review / final episode of Brave Men for 2024, which is cool and exciting. It came quicker than I thought it would.
Yeah.
That's what she said. But
regularly,
because I think it's let's see, the episode that we're recording right now will be episode 13 or something, 13 or 14,
something like that.
And so that's good.
That's great.
That's a great start to getting the podcast
Baker's dozen,
right off the ground since October.
Yeah. And I think we've got a lot of people who are enjoying it.
Are you enjoying it?
I'm having a great time. It definitely is fun to learn more, right? I've really enjoyed the learning side of podcasting, and I'm slowly getting better at social media stuff. Kind of.
You do great at social media. Except when you're like, I'm recording something for social media.
Yeah.
But when you're just on the podcast, I mean, all of your clips and everything, you're killing it.
Yeah, I'm good at the unintentional, right?
Yeah,
when I be intentional, and you're like, yeah, idiot.
As soon as you turn the camera on, you're like, record something for social media. Did you ever watch 30 Rock?
Oh, yeah.
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can talk about Alec Baldwin yet or not. But anyways... Didn't
he get cleared?
I don't know. Who knows?
I mean,
I don't
really
keep track of those things.
Yeah. I think legally he's not at fault.
Not at fault. I don't think he's going to be making a lot of movies anytime soon.
Was on. Is there a new show, or was it? He was just on. I think he was just on SNL.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Well, in 30 Rock, he played. It doesn't matter who he played, but his character, when they would task him, there's an episode where they tasked him to like. Not act, but be in a commercial.
Yeah.
And his level of acting is hilarious because he like as soon as the camera comes on, he like forgets how to walk and he like turns and looks at the camera, and it's so funny. So Steph and I always joke about it because when we push record sometimes to record something for social media for content, right? It's totally that.
Yeah. Then you're like,
what's your name? Rabbit.
Mm-hmm. B rabbit, right?
B
Mom
rabbit.
Spaghetti.
Don't get me started on Eminem.
What? No, you don't want to get started.
I could go all day.
Yeah, I like Eminem.
I do too. I've been really grateful for this podcast. I've been thinking about it since we were talking about doing this episode, and I was like, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you showing up and doing this week after week. I'm grateful for the space. I think because it's obviously do a lot of podcasting.
You do a little bit.
I do a little bit of podcasting. And
I'm a bit of a podcaster.
Right. I got a little bit of podcast. The difference between this show and the one that Steph and I do.
Yeah.
I feel way different on it.
Yeah.
It's very strange to me. I didn't think it would be the case, but
well, I mean, I'm not your wife. Right. Correct. So I think there's definitely, one of those things like Jamie's looked at me. She's like, you're real mean with your friends sometimes. I'm like, well, I'm not, worried about if they will or will not do something later. I was like, first of all, I love my wife and I want her to be internally happy and grateful and all that good stuff. So I'm real nice to her, but it's a different energy.
Yeah.
Like I'm not just saying that as guys we are mean or stuff like that, but the humor's different, right? Like my wife doesn't have a 12-year-old boy in her head, right? My wife, we have different.
Weird. That'd be really weird if she did.
That would be weird.
It'd be like that movie with Martin Short and Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. You remember Inner Space?
Oh yeah, Inner Space. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Having a 12-year-old in here?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it's Honey. It's the blend of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Inner Space.
I was gonna go.
Maybe
I was maybe thinking like
maybe that's
Big.
not the mashup.
I was thinking like Big.
Okay.
Or like what's the one with 13 going on 30?
Yeah.
Isn't that like the new
Jennifer
age with Gardner?
Garner. Uh huh.
I love.
Did you say Gardner?
Gardner.
It's Garner.
I understand that.
But you say Gardner anyways?
No, I don't. Why don't you shut your fucking mouth? Gardner.
Garner.
Gardner. The D just kind of happens.
It does.
That's why I look at it. That's what I tell Jamie.
Sometimes it just happens.
Yeah, sometimes there's some D. I love Jennifer Gardner.
She's a good actress.
I think she's a great actress. I think, except for like some, but I think she's been great in a lot of things. Yeah. And I think she's there's definitely something for me when I see people, actors, actresses that are just good people.
Yes.
Right. I think we talked a little bit about that on like Keanu Reeves, right? Like I think he's just a good person.
Good person.
Right. Speaking of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, what's his name? Last name starts with an M. Who's that actor?
Moranis.
Yeah. What?
Rick Moranis.
Yeah, Rick Moranis. Did you ever hear about like why he stopped?
Yeah, his wife passes away.
His wife passed away of cancer, and he just like left Hollywood to take care of his family.
Take care of the kids, man.
Yeah, man. Like that's one of those things. Like that's somebody that like he showed up. He was like, "All right, this sucks, but like we're gonna do this
for sure."
And how crazy would it be if like one day you're like, as a child, you're growing up, and then it's like you're like 15 years old, and all of a sudden you're like, you were in a movie?
I know, right?
Right? Like
you're watching TV and you flip it through the channels.
Yeah, and all of a sudden
nobody flips through channels anymore.
Nobody flips through channels anymore.
So they're scrolling on Facebook.
And they see a clip, right? Or they're on TikTok and it's somebody doing like the big baby dance or something like that. And they're like, is that you, Dad? We're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was great back in the 80s.
He was
a bunch
great.
Of stuff.
He did what was the one he did with Martin Shore? Not Martin Shore. Yeah, Martin Shore. Was it Martin Shore? who was he was a gangster.
It's not ringing a bell.
Oh, I'll have to remember it. Anyways, all I remember is they were talking about like their pants were getting wrinkled in hotel rooms and.
It sounds great.
Yeah.
What way to sell that one? We got Martin Short and Rick Moranis starring in a movie where they're talking about not getting their pants wrinkled. Can't wait for that one.
Anyways.
That's a blockbuster.
It was a blockbuster. Man, some of my memory on some of this stuff is so bad.
I know, right?
Yeah. But no, it's been the overall, I mean, the podcast has been awesome. It's been fun because before this, we had talked, like, I had been on podcast episodes. I had done a couple in-person podcasts. I had done some Zoom podcasts, but it was always as a guest and not as part of like a host, co-hosting. Co-hosting.
Well, even just like consistently showing up week after week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's such a different gig.
And learning more and all that stuff. So super thankful and grateful for the experience and all that. And I mean, I would even go as far as to say, like, it's had this podcast, this 1.5 to 2.5, 3 hours that we spend every week talking to each other, has changed my life.
Look at that.
Right? Even those, I don't know what time we're at now. Past 10 minutes, right? I think, right?
Are we? I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, we've cleared it.
We've cleared the 10-minute mark. Even those fuckers in the comments. The original guy who was like, yeah, the only thing that guy is scared of is stairs.
Right.
Right? I was like, 75 hard, here we go. And feeling great, so haven't lost a ton of weight, but definitely feeling
much better.
I mean, I have visible abdominal muscles, which is kind of cool.
That's a win, dude.
That's a fucking win, right?
I don't know if I've ever seen mine.
I felt them.
Yeah, you felt mine?
Yeah, when I rubbed on your belly. The last time we did jujitsu.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Yep, you got all the paddle sport injuries.
I've been thinking about, because I've been off of jiu-jitsu for 2 weeks, maybe. Is that how long it's been? Longer. Does it feel longer?
It feels longer.
Feels quite a bit longer, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. It's been a while.
I think a month.
Has it been a month?
I feel like it.
Could be.
I mean...
It's been too long.
It's been too long, for sure.
I've been really thinking about...
Murdering people.
Definitely thinking about murdering people. No, I've been thinking about going back. I feel like I'm getting there.
Good.
Strength-wise with my legs and my calves, but I'm genuinely just doing everything I possibly can to give them the full amount of healing time that is necessary.
Yeah.
So they're coming along. 75 yoga is doing good.
75 yoga is going awesome, which I'm super proud of you for.
Thank you.
I mean, if you wanted to get back into jiu-jitsu, I hear that the 5:30 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday class is
hopping.
Dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've got an instruction, warm-up.
I'll just have to sleep at the gym Sunday night.
There you go.
And then that way I'll be fresh and ready to go.
Yeah, you could totally do that, right? Just be like, all right, well, we gotta go to the gym, and like just leave, right? Get out of bed at like 11 o'clock, go to the gym, and then just sleep on a mat.
It sounds great.
Or the crash pad, you could sleep on that. That's probably soft.
It sounds great.
Right? Get a pillow, a blanket. It's not too cold.
It's not
We
too
have
bad.
a coffee maker there.
Do you?
Yeah.
I bet it's really good.
It's sometimes, I don't know, I felt bad. I had coffee the other day. I poured some coffee in my cup, and I literally I was like, I sent a message to the group in the morning. I was like, this is the worst fucking coffee I've ever had. I was like, this coffee sucks. And I was like, Michael, your coffee sucks. And then it wasn't him that made it. It was Paul, another guy. He had made the coffee, and he's like, and then we started harassing Paul, because Paul, this is the downside of our morning crew. We don't really talk about some of the common courtesies and respects that should be paid within the jiu-jitsu community.
Such as?
The other day, Paul mufflered a black belt.
Okay.
And was just in a move and just reached up and put his hand over a black belt's nose and mouth and was just like, stop that. And it was Mad Brad. And
I bet that went really well for him. I bet it turned out great for Paul.
We looked at Paul and we were like, what are you doing? And he's like, what you guys doing, like, to each other? Like, I'm never going to look at like Brad Bradford and be like, right? And he was like, you're not supposed to do that? I'm like, I wouldn't, like, he's going to come at you now. And so that'll be fun. But that's what we were harassing him, like making shitty coffee and muffler and black belts. Like, what the fuck, man? He's a 6-month-in white belt. Like,
sounds like he's right on course.
Right on course.
Sounds like a white belt that's been doing jiu-jitsu for 6 months.
Wrist lock to trial guys.
Exactly.
Just like,
just tripping kids as he's walking into class.
Yeah. Double leg blast on the new girl. But yeah, I think, I forgot what we were talking about, but started 75 hard, get a little back on the, hey, like, let's be a little, less fat, and got back into like the VA system and working on like getting back into some therapy, go talk to somebody a little bit, see if I can find somebody to talk to who I don't want to murder.
Right. I need therapy again. I was talking to Steph about it on the show the other day. Yeah. Where it's like, I just need a therapist again. I've got too much stuff that is backing up, and trying to process it all on my own isn't working. And so
I think it's good just to have somebody to talk to.
I think it's great.
Right? It's really a judgment-free zone, because I don't think is a therapist allowed to...
Oh, they judge.
Yeah, but like they can't look at you and be like...
Sometimes they do.
Can they?
Sometimes they look at you and they're like, seriously?
Are they bigger than me?
That's what you know. But that process of like trying to find one, I was thinking about just going down like the BetterHelp rabbit hole or one of those other ones, and just trying to see, because the whole idea of like, I don't care about necessarily having somebody in person. I mean, it'd be great if I could go to somebody's office and chat with them every week. I wouldn't mind that. I actually prefer that. So
I think that's the better way to do it.
Yeah.
The Zoom thing is cool, but like, I think that it could be harder because you're not leaving your space. So there's some benefits of, I feel more secure and safe here in my dining room. At the same time, there's no transition time.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's really the hard part with a lot of the work, remote working and work from home. I work from home, and I know that Jamie, like my wife, before we moved here, when she was in person pre-COVID, she would drive to the office, and that was her like getting ready for the day. And then she would work all day and then leave the office. And very rarely did she ever have to pull her laptop out or do anything at night. It wasn't a thing, right? And nowadays, because we're just always have that, it's not a big deal. Like, I mean, I think Sunday night I like jumped on my computer and I was like, hey, before Monday kicks off, I'm going to knock out like 2.5 hours of work. But it'll just prepare my Monday, and everybody was in bed, so I didn't care. But we don't have that on-off time anymore with the whole like working from home. So therapy,
right?
Yeah,
so therapy.
Yeah, I think it's better if you do it in person. My opinion.
The transition is important.
Yeah,
I think those transitions are important regardless. Like we came home the other day from a busy day of running around and doing stuff.
Yeah.
And just getting home, I recognized that like my anxiety was amping up instead of coming down. Because as soon as we got home, then it's putting away groceries and it's starting to cook dinner and it's starting to do all these things. And it's just like, I just need time to decompress from like a nervous system perspective before I try to transition and be like, okay, hi, we're home now and we're being, home.
Yeah.
But
I think that's so overall pretty positive effect of the podcast on my personal life.
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, me
I
too.
think that's cool.
Yeah.
What are you hoping for with the new year? When it
$1 million.
$1 million.
$1 million. I would love. What am I hoping for the podcast? Excited to start interviewing some guests.
Yeah.
Right. I think that'll be super fun. I'm really excited about that. Excited to continue. I'm excited for you to start doing morning jujitsu with me, and we can talk about that.
I'm excited for guests too. I think that's going to be the cool part. I know that we've been trying to get some. It's not a matter of like trying to get some on. It's trying to figure out when we can do
it. Especially now with the holidays.
Like
Right. That's the harder part because everybody's got a busy schedule right now. But I think that, I'm really looking forward to doing some guests. I'm looking forward to, I'd love to get to a point where we can start like talking with our viewers a little more and answering questions, stuff like that. Looking forward to doing some more social media content when I get the camera out and I'm like, think that'll be fun. Yeah. What about you? What are you looking forward to?
I like all of those things. Not so
Well,
much
those are my things. You can't have them.
Not so much the social media. I enjoy social media, but I also get burned out on it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, because we create. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I get burned out on it. I am excited for guests. I've got a handful of people in the back of my mind that I want to talk to. And then all the people that I can't even think about, that I'm sure we'll talk to at some point. I'm excited. I don't know for sure what we're going to be doing. And we don't even have to do anything with the podcast. No. The podcast is a thing itself, right? But there's a part of my brain that's like, well, what are you doing with it? What is it? What's the purpose of it? What's it? What are all those kind of things?
What are your objections and key results?
Yeah, exactly.
OKRs.
But I think I just want to set all of those down and just enjoy the podcast.
Yeah.
And not worry about all of those other things and just kind of continue down the path that we've been going, because I'm incredibly enjoying it. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think that's if guests, I think we're both looking forward to that part, but looking forward to doing, 50 something episodes of podcasting next year and being yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Right. That'll be fun.
Yeah. 52 if we nail it. If we do it right.
If you do it right.
Yeah, if we can.
Here's to that.
50, that's a lot, though.
It is a lot.
It's hard to do.
I don't want to hang out with you 52 times.
I know.
Right?
Let's recap our years, though, man.
Okay.
Let's go back over 2024 individually.
What was January of 2024 like for you?
It was a shit show.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What was going on in January?
In January, we were putting our house up not up for sale. We were refinancing the house.
Yeah.
Taking out a second mortgage or whatever it's called. I don't even remember what it's called, because we had the house paid off and then we took some money out against the house to pay for the studio.
Yeah.
And that's what January was.
Yeah.
It was us deciding to do that.
And then going through that process.
And then going through the process, and
which is stressful.
The whole loan thing and all of that nonsense. And then just the waiting after we got everything submitted, it was still 2.5 weeks before we heard back whether or not it was going to go through. So that's the entire month of January. And then after it went through, it was just which took up all of February, just being recovering from the anxiety and the stress and the fear of it all.
Well, because that's your other pod. Didn't you kind of shift gears in January from one podcast to another?
The last episode of Energy is Love was in December of last year. 23, I think. It might have been in January. I don't think so. I think it was in December. We finished it off. It was interesting too. That's not the case. I forgot. We recorded an episode that was the last episode of 2023, right? Our end of year episode for Energy is Love. And the intention was to continue the show. And then somewhere in that hiatus, we decided to transition and do the Steph and Craig show.
Gotcha.
Which involved all of the stuff that we just talked about, refinancing the house. And
building the set, all that kind of stuff. And then after we did all of that, we recorded one more episode of Energy is Love. A farewell.
Yeah. Sending it off. And at the beginning of the year was just it was riddled with stress and anxiety and fear. Yeah. That's kind of what all of 2024 actually was for me.
Stress and anxiety.
It was riddled with stress and anxiety and fear.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get
lots of stress and anxiety and
fear. Yeah.
We had that was a really shitty time period. And then we transitioned into the podcast, which launched in May. But prior to that, we had all of these things set out to where originally we were going to launch in March, and then it was April. And then finally I was like, okay, we're launching in May. That's when the very first episode is going to go out. And then it was rushing to get to that spot. And I don't think we actually started recording episodes until April. So it was just all a nightmare. It was really, really hectic and chaotic and truthfully.
Big change.
Well, that's really what it was. It's not like anything was going on necessarily. It was just all the fear and anxiety surrounding all of it.
Yeah.
And the big kind of shift and transition. And at the same time, we should have really mapped it out a lot better, but we never do. We never actually sit down and be well, even if we do those,
you're
we never stick to it.
Never stick to it. Yeah, that's the hard part.
So it
That's why you
was.
need OKRs.
What are OKRs?
Objections and not objections, objectives and key results.
Okay.
So you set an objective, and then you have these are the like key results.
Okay.
These things align. These are the like here's the goal, and then here are 3 things I'm gonna that will tell me if I'm working getting closer to this goal.
I see.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. It's a management style that I'm learning about.
I like it. As far as the Steph and Craig show goes, we hit all of them.
Yeah,
Like part of the goal we had with the podcast was obviously get it off the ground and launch it. We had
Check.
2 episodes a week was another thing. It was every episode that went out, we sent emailer with it. So we had, an email that went out with every single episode. And then monetization on YouTube.
Yep.
That was another goal. And then sponsors. And all of it happened this year.
There you go.
So it went really, really well from that perspective.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a huge, and I back to your like fear, anxiety, and stress.
Mm-hmm.
Every life change has those components to it, right? And as much as there are these like different things that you can do to try to manage all that, you can sit down and you can plan it all out, and you can be like, this is going to be great, and here's all my backup plans, and here's the time frame, and here's all this is going to work, and you're like, I'm still fucking terrified, right? Which is, it's part of life. It's change. I think it's totally reasonable to have that fear. And is fear, anxiety, and stress? Fear, I don't remember now.
Just feeling crazy
Crazy.
for the most part. We had that happen. We launched in May, and then our son graduated in May, and he also turned 18. And we brought all the girls out.
That's right. You guys had the big family thing, right?
We had our big family trip / vacation, even though it wasn't a trip for us because it was here, but we flew out all the girls from Utah and got to spend 2 weeks with everybody and celebrate our boy and everything. And that was awesome. That was a really great event or a great time. It was stressful for all the different reasons, but we were really, really grateful that we got to do it. And it was a lot of fun. And then what happened right after that? I feel like everything just kind of continued. The year has just been delivering.
Delivering?
Yeah. Just boom, boom, punches and kicks and just really
like
kicking us in the fucking balls when
in the
we
balls.
were down.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was like what kind of kicks? What kind of punch? Was it like?
Yeah, it was lots of highs and lots of
lows
all year long. So we had
what goes up must come down.
Exactly right. After that, fun thing because we had some other things like we had our trip, the vacation that we went on.
Oh yeah, camping.
But right before we went camping, I got fired. From the job that I was doing for like 8 years or something. I can't even remember. And that was kind of like out of nowhere.
Which obviously induces some fear, anxiety, and stress.
It activates those things in a person. And it did.
It does. Yes.
It activated those things in me.
Yeah.
And it was really challenging. It was the morning that we left to go on vacation. And I just had to like sit there for a minute and be like, what am I going to do? Am I going to stress about? Because suddenly it's like the main source of income that you're using. Oh, by the way, we went ahead and did that thing with our house. Remember the house?
Oh,
we had paid off, right? That house that we had locked and loaded and didn't have to worry about. At least we have our house. We went ahead and fucked that up. And shortly after that, go ahead and lose your main source of income. So everything got really exciting really quickly.
Exciting.
Yeah. And I just decided I was like, I could choose to stress about this for the entire weekend and go on this little trip that we had planned and be like, baby, we're not buying anything. We're drinking water.
Yeah.
We're not spending any money.
Yeah.
And I just, no, I'm not going to do that. So we had a little bit of I had my like freak out on the drive as soon as we got in the car and just kind of started driving. I just
freak it out.
Yeah. Just got all that shit out of my system.
Did you just like roll the window down?
Kinda. I mean, it was kind of just a lot of like venting and frustration and fear, and it's like anger, right?
Yeah.
So frustrated about all those different things. And then it was like, okay, let's go have fun.
Yeah.
And then we just had a great time. And then we figured it out so far.
Yeah.
So far. But that was like May, June, July, kind of.
Yeah, I don't remember when we went camping.
I think it was in July.
Was it?
I think it was July that we went camping. Could have been in June.
I think it could have been in June.
Like the last week of June or something.
Yeah, something like that. Because I think it was before the 4th of July.
I think so.
And I felt bad because you guys showed up, right? I mean, first of all, that was a crazy trip just for I was coming back from a work trip.
Yeah, you were
right?
gone, huh?
So, like, normally when we go do these camping trips, because we rent a camper, I will go pick up the camper and then we all, like, drive up there and whatever. Jamie, we had to have the camper delivered and set up with just Jamie there, who's like, I'm not interested in camping. She is really nice that lets me, like, do these things because she's like, he wants this, right? But I'm like, let's get a fucking camper. This would be great. And so she's like, I don't know. This guy gave her instructions on all this stuff. She's like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And then I showed up after all that. I showed up that night because of my work trip. But I remember when you guys got there and I think it was the next morning. And I was like, because I didn't quite understand what it was that you did, right? Like work-wise. And I was like, so what is it that you do for work? You're in sales or something like that? And you're like, yeah, I actually just got fired. And I was like, all right. Anybody want to roast marshmallows? You know, like, shit.
Terrible.
It was, I was just like, oh, God, I suck
Craig,
so
what
bad.
do you do for work?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
How do you bring home the bacon there, Craig? Oh, you don't. All right. Yeah, that was a great trip, though.
It was a great trip.
Right?
Yeah,
I had a real good time.
It really helped. I think it was perfect because had we not had that trip,
you would have just been at home.
I would have just sat home in the fucking misery of it all.
Yeah.
Right? We wouldn't have been like suddenly, hey, let's go do something fun to get you out of this.
Yeah.
I would have just been miserable sitting in it.
That should be really a prerequisite. Like anytime somebody fires somebody, they should be like, hey.
Do it right before their vacation.
Yeah.
It works out great.
You already pay for your vacation? Awesome. Let's do it this way.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it was, okay, so it was June. We went camping. What else has gone on?
Since then, it was, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I know something else that came up, but please, I want to hear, I have something that I know that you.
Okay, I'm curious now.
No, you keep going.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to squirrel anywhere else other than.
I believe because it was we did the gym like pool party, right? And then we went camping, and then you got into pickleball.
Yeah.
Right? Because we started talking about pickleball
at the swim
party. And
was
then
that before the camping trip, though?
I feel like it was.
Yeah. Who knows?
I am almost positive it was because I think we talked about pickleball while we were there at the camping trip, right? And then you were like, yeah, we're going to do this. And here we are.
Yeah, right? I would have thought that pickleball coming into my life was going to be a significant thing. And it turns out it really was actually. Because it wasn't just like pickleball and getting a chance to play pickleball and then significantly injuring myself for the coming weeks and months after the fact.
Yeah.
But it was a reconnection for me with earlier part of myself.
Paddle sports.
You just are it's like you're holding it in your pocket every single day and you're like, I can't wait to say paddle sports.
I think about it all the time.
I can't wait to get this one out.
I tried to say the other day, I was in a work meeting and we were talking about like, you know, somebody's like, well, you know, pickleball's up and come. I was like, yeah, man, paddle sports. And they like looked at me and they're like, I don't think that's what it is. And I was like, 100%. That's the thing. It's called paddle sports, trademarked.
I've heard it on a podcast.
Yep, heard it on a podcast.
I'll send you a link.
Yeah, right. You should subscribe. Make sure you smash the bell.
It's been fun. The pickleball has been really fun, even though I haven't played in like 6 weeks or something like that. But I'm excited for it to come back. Meaning when I go back to it.
Yeah, because I don't think pickleball went anywhere.
I don't think it went in. It's actually getting more popular.
It is,
and I'm excited for that as well.
One of these, if we ever get a chance. The CEO at the company I work for is an investor in it's called Pickle House.
Okay.
And it's spelled funny. It's like house.
Like H-A-U-S or something?
Yes, that's what it is. But they've got I think they've got a few locations up in like the Chicago area. And it's like Top Golf for pickleball. But he was telling me about it. He's like, it literally turns into like a nightclub. It's like higher style like dining and drinks and cocktails and all that and music, but at night it turns into like a fucking party.
Do they turn on like glow in the dark? Because they've got like glow in the dark lines and pickleballs and things like that.
I don't know. Okay. I haven't got into it that far because I think when he was telling me about it, we had not yet had the pickleball conversation.
Okay, so you weren't super tuned into it.
Super tuned into it. I think we had maybe had the conversation about trying pickleball because I was like, oh yeah, pickleball. I don't know anything about this, and he was telling me about it. I was like, okay. He's not going to hear me, so I don't care. But so you had pickleball, and then
the pickleball. Yeah, it's just been an interesting year. It feels like all of these like life things are happening. And then underneath it all, I'm just doing all of this internal work as always. Right. But coming to Tennessee was a big part of like healing for me and processing for me. And it's just a really huge opportunity for me to, what I'm realizing today is a real huge opportunity for me to really just figure out who I am. I think that up until this point in my life, I've had a lot of stuff in the way of that. And this year alone has been peeling back all of that stuff and just really getting to the core of like, who is Craig? And it's not who is Craig in relation to this or that, or who does Craig think he is, or even just like, all those things that people tell us and the stories that we get and the programs that we get. And it's finally just to the point where it's like, oh, okay, I think this is actually who I am.
Who is John Malkovich?
Yeah, being John Malkovich. I'm figuring out how to be Craig.
I think that's great.
And that's been great. It's been hard. It's been really hard, but it's been great. But then, you know, we got like a breather of, okay, things are kind of calming down because we had a lot of chaos. And I say chaos, it wasn't necessarily chaos, but internal stress within our relationship.
Yeah.
Not with our relationship, but because our son kept going back to Utah to do stuff. He flew back with the girls when they came out. And then like a couple of weeks later, he went back again. And that alone was just really stressful for a myriad of reasons.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like the youngest.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and just like trying to figure out what he's doing with his life and how we can support him and help him, as well as all those kind of different things. That's been really hard because he's the youngest, so he's our final kid to leave the nest. He's on his way, even though he's still living here. Right? Yeah. But that's brought up a lot to feel and process through.
Yeah.
And then Steph's dad dies.
Yeah.
In September is when it was. It was the middle of September. And that's pretty much just taken up all of the rest of the year between all the different parts and components of what that looked like. And hurrying up and flying home to Utah, or flying back to Utah at, you know, the next day after we find out, and dealing with all of those things. And then Steph was in Utah for like a month dealing with all of it and helping her mom and doing all of those kind of things. And we are just now kind of recovering from that. We had a fun conversation. I don't know if it was fun. It was so fucking fun. No,
like, hey, you remember that time when your dad died? Wasn't that a fucking blast?
Fun. We had such a good conversation about it. No, it's just been a lot of trying to support Stephanie as best as I can.
Yeah,
as she's going through all of the things that she's going through, and then at the same time trying to support our family and figure out how to keep our family moving forward during this time period. So it's been challenging, to say the least.
Yeah.
Because we had there's this thing that's, and everybody deals with this. This isn't a unique thing to Craig. I mean, this is truthfully, I think, just trying to figure out how to feed and water yourself every single day, right? Trying to keep a roof over your head and trying to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
And we had a very clear plan of what that was like looking like. And then I lose a huge source of income. Yeah. That was our primary source of income. And then we're left with the income that we're getting through sponsorships and monetization and everything like that from the podcast, which isn't a lot. Yeah. Right. It's not, thousands of dollars. It's hundreds of dollars, which is great.
Great.
in its beginning and it's growing,
growing,
and all of those kind of things. But when it comes to like cool, so we've had to figure out what that looks like. And the fix for it was door dashing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have been, we're platinum status door dashers at this point because we fucking have to go out and door dash every fucking day in order to make things work.
Does that mean that you're like the best door dashers?
The best.
We're the top. If you're going to do it right.
We're the very top.
Tip of the spear.
Tip of the spear when it comes to door dashing. As soon as we
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to but it makes me laugh a little bit on the tip of the spear.
Right. What were we watching? We were watching Sicario the other day. Or I was watching Sicario because Stephanie wasn't watching it with me. She's not a fan of some of these movies that I watch. But we just want to pause real quick and thank you for tuning in and listening to Brave Men Dare. We'd like to ask you to do 3 simple things for us. First and foremost, just subscribe wherever you're listening, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of the other places you can find podcasts. By subscribing, you're going to help the podcast reach more people. Also, feel free to rate the show. Give us 5 stars if you're enjoying it. And last but not least, send an episode to a friend. All of these things are going to help the podcast reach more people and help us continue to bring you episodes week after week. Be sure to come follow us on social media as well. You can find us everywhere by searching Brave Men Dare. Now let's get back to the episode. She's at least sitting down and watching it with me, and I'm high.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying it. And I'm telling her, I'm like, baby, in this movie, Benicio del Toro is the tip of the spear.
Oh, yeah.
The whole purpose of what they're doing right now is to send him into Mexico.
Yeah.
He's and she was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, he's the very tip.
Yeah.
He's the very tip of the spear, baby.
Yeah.
That's how tough he is.
I love Benicio del Toro.
Yeah.
His The Way of the Gun.
I was going to text you when I was watching Sicario because I'm watching Sicario and I'm watching Benicio and I'm like, I fucking love The Way of the Gun.
The Way of the Gun is, listen, the opening scene when they're sitting on the car outside the bar. It's my favorite thing. You want to do the man dance, right? I love that. It is to the point. My best friend John Ward and I, we quote that all the time, and I don't want to really say it, because. But that whole thing, so many better, right? And I love The Way of the Gun. Oh, it's such a good movie.
It's such a good movie.
It really is.
They filmed it in Utah.
Did they?
Yeah. So there's a lot of those scenes that was another fun thing when that movie came out, was watching it and being like, oh, that's downtown Salt Lake. I know exactly where they shot that. And there's the big scene at the end where they're like the big, the finale scene where they're at the hotel and like all of that stuff. I mean, that was shot like 30 minutes from where we lived.
That's awesome.
Out in the desert where they set everything up and kind of built that little set for it and stuff like that. But,
that's super cool.
Yeah, that's a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's a good Benicio movie.
It is a good Benicio movie. But I think, it's the tip of the spear. So you've supplemented. I don't want to get too
so we're the tip of the spear with DoorDash,
which is awesome, right? If you're gonna do it right.
And it's working. Like, we're figuring everything out. It's one of those things where I have this, we created the podcast. We've set up our life this way to where we can not just podcast, but create content and do all these kind of different things. And the dream, the belief, the idea is obviously that it sustains us. That we don't have to worry about, some stupid job somewhere. Because neither one of us really wants to ever go back to that space. And I mean, this is kind of what it looks like for the time being. So we're doing it.
It is what it is. I think, it's one of those things like, you got to do what you got to do, right? Like, at the end of the day, like, you got to chop wood and carry water, right? To quote my friend Craig.
Like, we figured out where, it's like, get rid of everything that we could possibly get rid of as far as bills go and eliminate as much of that as we possibly can. So we're pretty bare bones when it comes to what
expenses.
We need. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's still a lot. It's not a little. And it's challenging and it's stressful and a lot of, like, especially after Steph's dad passed away. Not that had anything to correlate or connect
throws
with.
more at it.
Yeah, it's just, compounding the stress of it all. And then just trying to literally figure out, like, okay, this week we've got to come up with X amount of money in order to do this thing and then to do this thing and then do so on and so forth. And at the same time, it's holding on to this dream, holding on to this other thing that we have been working so freaking hard to get to and to reach. And it feels like we reached and accomplished this big, huge thing that we've been trying to do. And then suddenly it's like, cool. Do you want to keep it?
Yeah.
Do you want to keep building it? Do you want to keep doing it? Or do you want to set it down and do this other thing?
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking do that other thing.
Yeah. I want to just do this.
I just want to keep doing this thing. So I'm choosing to keep doing this thing. And at times it feels like the dumbest fucking thing in the whole world. At times it feels like I'm an idiot, like I'm, being just pie in the sky, head in the clouds kind of, because it doesn't work on paper. If you write everything out and if you look at it and you're like, yeah, this isn't going to work, we're going to come up with another plan. And I'm like, no, trust me, this totally works out. We're totally going to make this work out. It's going to work. So it's a lot of hoping and dreaming, but it's not even truthfully that. Like it is that, but it is a knowingness inside that, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I'm finally to a point. It's kind of what I was saying earlier, where I'm learning and uncovering and unpacking who I really, truly am. And a lot of it has come this year through not just podcasting, because it's been great to have like the sets and the cameras and the equipment and all of this stuff to create and produce the type of podcast that I've always wanted to do. And this was the same thing, where it was like, we got to build out this set and we got to do all of these things. And it's been so fun creating all of that.
Yep.
And the creation process and being a creative person and tapping into those things that are inside of me that I really, really enjoy and that I really, really have fun with has been incredibly rewarding and exciting. And so that's kind of where I'm sitting right now in life, where we've got podcasts, which I love. We obviously do content online and everything like that. But I really am leaning into more and more about what type of content I want to start creating. Excuse me. What type of stories do I want to start telling?
Yeah.
And that's really what I see coming up for me next, is just going super heavily into content creation, even more so, and less about like, how do we come up with some funny reel that we can, put out
that's going to get traction. Or something.
Yeah. And more about what type of stories do I actually want to start telling, and what kind of things do I want to start creating and
talking about and sharing.
Yeah. And it's like, all of it is through the medium of like film and content and all of those kind of things. And I wouldn't have discovered my, I don't even necessarily think it's like my ability, but my passion for it, had it not been for this change up this year.
Yeah.
For us just going towards, like, we made a decision when we switched up podcasts. We were going to set down coaching and all these other things that we were doing so that we could just focus on content. And I didn't realize what that meant. And, now we're at a year later after that decision was made. And I'm like, oh, this is what it meant. Because content for me has been this ability for me to really recognize and see how artistic I am, as well as what I can do with that skill set through film and editing and all of these other kind of things. And it's so fucking fun. Like,
how autistic you can be. I'm sorry. You were really on a good roll. And you said, in my artistic, I was like, autistic.
Yeah. It's in there.
Yeah, it's part of it. It's part of it.
It's a big part of it.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of it.
I think I think it's been awesome to watch.
Yeah.
Right. And then, you didn't say it. We also started this podcast, right?
I was talking about
this that's podcast. Right. You were talking about creating this. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't
building
listening.
Out this set and doing all of this stuff. This was just as much of a, like, taking what we did with Steph and Craig and then being like, okay, we've got all the equipment and gear, but
now
I want
boys.
but it's like such a completely different feel to the show.
This is a completely different show.
Right. And it's like, how do I do that in the same space on a budget? And I'm so happy with the way that it all turned out.
Well, we got to steal a lot of stuff from the Craig and Steph show.
We got to borrow.
Definitely. We're going to use this too.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it all worked out.
Yeah.
I'm
hey,
super
look at this real nice
grateful
thing you got. I'm going to fucking use it.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Right? And it's December.
Yeah, so you were saying it's been real fun to watch and see and kind of observe.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's I remember like, because I had asked you, content is something I've always been interested in. And even early when we met, I was asking you questions. It's like, oh, okay, like what kind of, and I was very interested in what it is that you were doing. Are you pouring coffee from one cup into another cup?
Yeah, and it's going
and
well.
You're making a mess.
Thanks for
nope. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. It's going well. Thanks. on the white couches, on the white chairs.
I have some.
Do you need some?
No, I have some. But what does your cup say?
I don't know. This is
something. Let me see. Sometimes you forget you are awesome. So this is your reminder.
There you go.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember if this was a present for me or for Asher when he turned 18.
It was somebody's.
Yeah. I think it was a present from Grandma, but I don't remember.
There you go.
If it was for me, I don't know. Anyways,
but so I've asked you a lot of questions about content and how you're producing that and coaching and your online community and all of this different stuff because it's something that I'm always interested in, right? And I remember when you told me, you're like, yeah, we're actually gonna start a new podcast and we're gonna, kind of, and I was like, okay. And I remember thinking to myself, because you had said, like, we're going to go all in. We're going to do, like, new cameras, new setup, new, like, scene, like, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, that is, like, that's it. That's the full in, like, we're doing this thing, right? And any thoughts I had on podcasting or anything like that, because it had always been, like, something in the back of my mind that I was interested in. But just either one, didn't know how to get really started and was fearful probably of like getting started and being terrible. And at the same time, also like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Just get on the camera.
Yeah.
Hi. And so I remember sitting there going and thinking to myself, like, man, like that is so cool that you guys are going to do that. And you're going to like this whole, but like from scratch. And you guys probably had some carryover from the people who were listening to Energy is Love, to Switch and stuff like that. But it's still a big change.
Yeah.
Right. And then when we were sitting down and having lunch and you were talking about podcasting, I was like, yeah. Because I mean, when was that? That was... It was after camping.
Yeah, it was somewhere July, August.
July or August, yeah, something like that. And even that, I mean, that's still a process. We didn't start, we started recording in September.
I think so.
Yeah. And the little things that led up to that, but it was... I
had so much fucking anxiety when it came time to like put this set together because it's been so strange to me to create and collaborate with you on this. And it's one of those. You didn't do anything. Like it's my hangups. It's my process. And I realized it along the way because obviously Stephanie and I know how to like work together. And navigate.
You guys know each other a little bit.
We know each other quite well, right?
Spend some time together.
She knows how to support my craziness.
Yeah.
And I go a little crazy sometimes when it comes to like, hey, we're gonna create this thing, we're gonna build this thing, we're gonna do this thing, and then I'll just get like
camera one,
so
camera
close
two,
into
camera
it.
one, camera two.
What's that from? Do you remember?
Well, there's a Family Guy episode of it.
Okay, that's which is probably from an earlier thing.
Yeah.
Originally, I remember it from Wayne's World.
Oh yeah, because he was in bed with
Tia Carrera.
Yeah, God, right. Camera one,
right.
Camera two, camera one. Yeah,
I think that's where it's originally.
I think
from.
It's
an old Mike Myers bit.
It is. It's a good one.
Yeah, but I freaked out.
Yeah,
because it was like I wanted it to look different, but at the same time, I knew the logistics of like
we can't do two sets.
We can't do two complete sets.
Yeah,
just because this room is too small.
Yeah,
and we have to be able to transition and bring stuff in and out. And so I had all of these like pieces in my brain I was trying to figure out. And then like texting you pictures of shit.
Yeah.
And the process of like, I think this is it. And then like, this isn't it. This isn't it.
You're like 70. I'm like, yeah. But even picking a name.
Yeah.
Right. That was a process. Talking about the name. I mean, just thoughts on that. The logo, right? Which is obviously, I mean, first of all, fucking dope.
Yeah, dude. I like how
it's got a fucking lion. Right. Which...
Right. All the synchronicities. Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't realize, at the time when when I created the logo for it, it was a time where I was like doing a lot of trying to bring
Acid?
out. I wish.
I wish
it was my acid period. I'm excited for that time period. I can't wait for Craig's acid era.
Acid era.
Holy shit. We're in such a treat for that.
Jamie said the other day, she's like, I'm in my petty era. And I was just like, my acid era. That would be a good one. Yeah. Like,
it's going to be good.
Yeah, what was 2032 like? That was my acid era.
My acid era.
What?
I'm excited for my acid era, my DMT era.
There you go.
I still have I'm in my psilocybin era right now. But anyways, the lion was inspired by little Craig and this thing inside of me that I remember. I had this experience where Stephanie was helping me she was doing energy work on me. She was doing weaving on me, and she was doing this stuff, and she was clearing energy in my body, and she was doing all of these things. And I could feel this part of me. I remember being little. Do you remember being a little kid and not just playing when you were little and having make believe and imagination and stuff like that? And maybe you didn't do this. You're looking at me like I'm a fucking psycho right now.
I'm not. No. I'm like, do I remember being a little kid? I mean,
but do you remember pretending to be an animal when you were a little kid?
Yes.
Where did you know, running around, growling?
Yeah.
I used
dog,
to
monkey,
lions,
cat.
horses, gorillas, right? You name it. And
I still pretend to be a gorilla.
I was doing it on the yoga mat the other day. But I had this moment of recognition where I reconnected with myself when I was a little kid, and I remembered what it felt like when I was a little kid to be a lion, because I had this.
You remembered you remembered when you were a kid what it felt like for you to portray a lion.
So when I was a little boy,
you were a
lion. First off, I had stuffed animals. I was obsessed with stuffed animals. So is that what you called them?
I don't know. I don't know where Stuffy came from.
I've never heard that in regards to stuffed animals before.
I don't know if it's a local
like how Tennessee's got a bunch of, or South's got a bunch of funny names for things.
I think it was actually Josh Decker. Okay. We had Josh Decker and Chris, California Chris, over at my house. We were drinking, building things, and I was like, things. We were building some things, drinking, and but
I feel like there's way more to this story.
We don't want to get into too much of it. Stuffies. And California Chris got too drunk. And he was like, he threw up. We put him in our spare bedroom. And Decker and I are both a little fucked up too. And he's like, hey, God, we got to get him a Stuffy. And he goes and finds Nora's mechanical unicorn that you hit a button and it or whatever. And we shoved it in bed with him. And I think I have a photo of him cuddling it. And we sent his wife a text hey, he passed out.
He's okay, but he's okay. Come get him in
but
the
it was
morning.
Decker. He was like, we got to get him a Stuffy. And I don't think I'd ever used the term Stuffy before that. And now that's what we call him.
Cool.
So Stuffies.
Yes.
So you were a lion.
So when I was a kid growing up, I love when you take these moments. You're like, okay, so let's slow it down. And just really hone in on this really silly thing. When you were a kid.
And a lion.
You were a lion. I had my grandma had gotten me and my brothers these, I don't even know what you would call them, but it was like a throw rug. It was the stuffed animal equivalent of a bear rug. So if you were to have a bear rug with the head and then do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But yeah, it does like a bear rug that you would have where it's not stuffed because it's just the skin of the bear, but it still has the head.
Is it bear rug if you just laid on top of somebody? Is it a bear rug?
I'm sure that's probably a term, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Give me the old bear rug.
Throw that in the comments.
Yeah. But it was like a blanket.
Okay.
That
had a head
and it looked like the body of a lion, but it was like a throw rug of a lion.
Okay.
And I used to not just lay on it, you're laying on the floor, laying on top of it, and your head's on top of the lion.
Yeah.
I also used to put it on top of me.
Gotcha.
And kind of lay it across my back so that it felt like I was a lion.
Rawr.
And I remember what that felt like as a kid in this moment when Stephanie was doing work on me.
Okay.
I remembered what it felt like to pretend to be a lion. And I remembered feeling like when I was a little boy, that I was really like a lion. I remember growling and roaring and just having all of this energy when I was a little kid. So kind of embodied that and could feel that.
Okay.
And that was the same time that I created the logo. It was all kind of serendipitous in a sense where I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds good. That looks good. I like that. All of those kind of things start to come together. And yeah, it's been cool. It's been fun.
I like the lion.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's a cool line. I think it's a cool logo, right? I think it's a good name. I think it's good everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that you've done a phenomenal. You posted the video the other day of the set change, right? And I thought it was great because you like put the camera up in the corner and you're like, I'm going to do this real quick. And I thought it was super cool to watch the little transformation of that. Because to be honest, I really only see this set.
Yeah.
Right. And I've seen like the other set in video.
Yeah. Clips
right?
and stuff.
Clips and stuff like that. But I haven't really come into that set. Right. I don't know that set. But this set, and I think you've done a great job. And it's all the little things that you've, like I would have never thought. You're like, hey, bring some shit. Right. And
you brought up shit. Like the whole reason we have these things, because part of the process, because that's the other thing is like, I wanted to get your input. I didn't want to just do this thing and then be like, I wanted to get your input along the way and like co-create the experience. And
I was the one that brought up shit.
Yeah. At one point you were like, we should have shelves with stuff. And then every week we can
put
be like,
different.
Here's this thing.
That's right. We don't do that.
And then I'll tell you the story about this thing. And so that was in the back of my mind when I'm trying to figure out what the fuck we're going to use. And
this worked out great.
It worked out great. And then you're like, yeah, we don't
need to do that.
We don't need to do any of that. And I'm like, cool, check.
But I mean, you've got your rocks.
I've got my stuff.
You got your stuff. I got a couple things.
I got my rocks. I got this baseball.
Dude, I'm just a little concerned that you're going to throw it at me.
This baseball. So I grew up playing baseball when I was a kid.
Not a paddle sport.
Not a paddle sport. And it was, like it was the thing. It was it was the sport that my family played. It was the sport that my brothers played. The American pastime, but we were a baseball family.
Okay.
And I love baseball. Loved playing it. My brothers.
Have you seen my baseball?
What's that?
Have you seen my baseball?
No. Do you have a baseball?
Have you seen never mind. It's something about Mary.
I remember. Do you play baseball?
No.
Do you have a baseball mitt?
No.
Okay.
So my experience, my dad was had coached T-ball. And I think as a kid, he got me like a T-ball set. And I think he just not going to be this kid's future. Right. And I was just like, and that was it. It was the same as like my brother played basketball. Right. I tried out for the 7th grade basketball team. I was a second kid cut. First kid was straight up in a wheelchair. Straight up. That's a fact. They were like, yeah, you know who's worse than you? The one who can't walk, right? And then you. That's how bad I am at basketball.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because my son's super into basketball and he loves basketball. And I'm super supportive of his love of basketball. And he's like, I'm going to play basketball in high school. And I was like, no, you're going to be like, you might. You're going to be like 5'8". You're going to be 5'8" and 220 pounds.
Be a mean basketball player.
Dude, right? Just body checking people. Just like, watch out for that guy.
Yeah.
Fuck you up.
I loved baseball.
You love baseball?
Played it all growing up. And
what did you play? What position did you play?
I played a couple of different positions. The one that I played most often was catcher. I was actually a catcher growing up.
I don't know what it is. I must, this sounds weird. I must attract catchers. Because everybody that I know who played baseball that I'm friends with
was a catcher.
Was a catcher.
Yeah.
Literally everybody I know, and they all talk about how shitty their knees are and just how bad it was. Yeah. But everybody that I know that played baseball was a catcher.
Yeah.
Maybe it's code. I don't know.
Could be something there that we could unpack on a future episode.
It's a 2025 thing.
Yeah. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. And then when I got into high school, all of my friends who I grew up playing baseball with, because it was little league all the way up until comes time to go into high school. And then at that point, you're going to start playing high school ball.
Yeah.
And I had groups of friends that stuck with baseball, that started playing baseball. And then I had a close group of friends that started playing tennis. and I chose to play tennis my freshman year because they're at the same time. They're springtime sports, so I couldn't do both of them. So I elected to go with tennis, hence the paddle sports.
Yes.
And that became a big part of my life,
paddle
right?
sports is a thing.
And I let baseball go. And then later on in life, when I was an adult, I was in my 20s, and my oldest brother had started playing in a men's recreational league.
Okay.
And I played in that I don't even know if I did a couple of seasons. I might have only played with him one season on that. But I hit a home run.
That's cool.
That's my home run baseball.
That's your one ball that you hit a home run on?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
From back in the day when I was in that men's league playing baseball with him.
That's cool.
So that was cool. Kept that baseball.
That's sweet. You've got some really good, like, mementos.
I've got so many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've thrown most of mine away or lost them.
Yeah.
Not a super, what's that called? When you like keep things, momentums or,
Collector.
not a collector.
A keeper of things.
Yeah. That's not the word.
Nostalgic.
No. No, it doesn't matter. I don't have a lot of stuff, around like memories and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff, and I think part of that's, I packed up, I put my stuff in storage. Fuck. I've probably put everything I've owned in storage at least 12 times.
Yeah.
Right? And
That
I mean,
makes
like,
sense.
in storage, I'll see you in 6 to 12 months, and then you come back, and then you're like, I don't need this box, right? And you just throw it away. So I just have really gone through a lot of that stuff and just over time lost a lot of it. Some of it I still have, but not a ton of it.
Yeah.
So, and it's all in boxes somewhere.
You'll have to dig out some stuff for the 2025 season of bravemendare.
Yeah. I mean, there's some like random things that I think about, like right off the top of my head. Like I've got some things from like when I was in my robotics stuff, and I've got some stuff from when I was in the Marine Corps. I got some dirt here and there. So
Like legit dirt.
yeah, dirt.
Yeah.
Dirt from different countries and stuff like that.
We have a ton of sand.
Yeah.
Sand is a big thing from the beach.
Oh, the beach, man.
Yeah. We used to go, and because we would drive, right?
Yeah.
The van has those stone go, so you've got the storage underneath the seats. And I took a huge ass Tupperware one time, one of the big long ones that you would use for like wrapping paper or something.
Okay.
And we laid it in that area and filled the whole thing up with sand when we went to the beach. So we brought home like a Tupperware full of sand. And we still have a lot of it today.
And what do you do with
Steph uses it for a variety of different things.
Sanding.
She uses it to sand things. She's a carpenter. Yeah.
I just have dirt from the different countries I visited while I was in the Marines.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but some of them.
I want to wrap up my year, and then I want to hear about yours.
Yeah.
So it's been this year alone. I feel like I'm finally in the midst of my midlife crisis. I feel like it started when I was 40, and it's finally starting to I'm in the middle phase of it now. And then next year will probably be even more impactful in some ways. I don't know what yet. And the differences that I'm experiencing today versus the beginning of the year I feel completely different.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like such a different person today than I did at the beginning of the year. And it's really just this shedding of all of these old parts of myself that no longer were serving, all of these old stories, these programs, all of this shit that has been in the way the vast majority of my life. I feel like I'm finally able to set it down and move on. And I still have moments, obviously, where stuff comes up and I'll revert back to negative thought processes and beliefs and all those kind of things. But they're so few and far in between, and I catch them immediately and I flip them immediately. And now I'm in this consistent state of moving through life in just a completely different way.
Well, and I think that as you're making these changes, when those things come in, it's easier to recognize. And you can kind of as before, and this is how it works with me, is if I hey, we're not going to do this, or hey, we're getting past this. I still have those moments of fear, anxiety, like depression and all that stuff. But then when I get there, it's easier as you're going through these things to recognize it and be like, this is just me being scared of this. Like, we've already talked about this. We've ran through all this. Like, it's going to be okay. And then you're like, and the more you do that, I think the easier it gets to be to recognize, see it, overcome it, and move on.
Yeah.
Right. So, well, that's exciting. I'm really excited for 2025, Craig.
I am too.
Yeah, this is 2024, Craig. I'm like, oh man, let's move on.
Yeah. Let's get some calves.
Yeah, let's get some calves, right?
Calves,
you got some calves. Those are some meaty calves.
I know.
But you just they don't work a lot.
It's been really funny because part of what I knew that my calves weren't just a physical injury. I knew that they had emotional connections to them. I knew that it was a lot of stuff. And I know that about my body. I know that the vast majority of pains and aches and injuries that I have, especially the chronic stuff, that it's, at least for me, I feel like it's all emotional. It's all trauma. It's all stuff that I'm not looking at and not wanting to feel.
Yeah.
And since I started doing this 75 yoga, I hate it. There's parts of it that I'm like, I don't want to do it because what's happening is stuff's coming up.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I start doing, my yoga, I'm thinking about my fucking dad. I'm thinking about my fucking mom. I'm processing all of this fucking nonsense shit that I don't want to think about and I don't want to do. So it's been really funny. I had this awareness the other night. I'm sitting there on the mat doing stuff and Steph's just sitting in bed. I don't know what she was doing. She was like playing on her phone or listening to some ASMR or something. And it like dawns on me. I'm like, wait a minute. This is exactly what I wanted to happen. I knew that I needed to
do this,
get stuff out of my body.
Yeah.
And I knew that yoga was going to help. And this is what it looks like. And this is the process.
And now I'm like,
and I hate it. Okay, cool. Well, it's working.
It's working.
It's working. So I'm excited.
Right? If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Exactly.
Right? And 75 yoga is not.
It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. Right?
A lot of people can't do it.
That's right. I don't know if I could
get on a yoga mat every single day.
Nope.
Got to sit and be with yourself.
Ooh, that would be the hard part.
That is the hard part.
Right? I'm terrible company. So.
Do you remember we did, when you first started 75 Hard, I challenged you to give yourself like, I don't remember what we said, like 2 minutes or something of just sitting and being with yourself, kind of like a mindfulness moment.
Yeah.
Has that been a component? Or did that kind of go out the window?
I don't think that it went out the window. I do spend some time like just thinking to myself. My hips were angry. I think I don't do it. I don't have an intentional like, hey, I'm going to set a clock 2 minutes and go. I definitely spend a little bit more time thinking about things, but I think part of that is with the reading that I'm doing. Like I need to stop and then think about that, right? So I tend to just be like, all right, and I just like try to process all that, what I've read. Go from whoo, shit. See, I'm fucking boring. I think that yeah, I haven't really done it. I know that I will probably challenge myself again and go to the next stage. I haven't. So after 75 Hard, you have phase 1. You have to take 30 days off, and then you go into phase 1. And phase 1 is where you do 75 Hard. It's only for 30 days, and you add a few other things. So there's you add a couple more critical things in there. One of them is like a 5-minute cold shower, which I'm really not looking forward to because a cold shower sucks. But it's also like 10 minutes of meditation. And when I did it before, I think I got to day like 20, and I don't even remember why I stopped. I think I was just tired of it. I was like, fuck this. I'm so over this. The cold showers probably is what it was. And so we stopped, but I enjoyed the 10 minutes where I would just sit down, like after we dropped the kids off, and I would just open up a YouTube, like 10-minute guided meditation, find my power cave and, just go through it. So I really enjoyed that, but I am excited to get back into that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to doing,
I should show you some, breathing. They have these things in yoga called Kriya. It's Kriya yoga.
Okay.
It's a type of yoga. It's a style of yoga. but a lot of it is
So like hamster
repetitive movement with breath.
Okay.
So it's like being in a seated pose and rotating. Like, so one that we like a lot is you'll put your arms up at a 45-degree angle out to the side, nice and wide, right? Here, let's get the big camera. And then you're sitting there and then you rotate side to side. We can't really fully rotate without knocking TVs off.
Yeah.
You'll do that repetitively for like 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
In conjunction with breathing. And then have like a break in between and do a couple of rounds of that. And that is a process that like it takes your brain and puts it into that meditative state because it's just the consistency. It's kind of like EMDR. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, that type of therapy as well. But I could totally show you some of those things if you're interested. And give you, because sometimes like just the act of sitting and being like, I'm meditating for 10 minutes is challenging and hard. But
I thought it would be. And what I think has really been beneficial is I literally find like those, like, if you're like, hey, just 10 minutes, set a timer and just sit there, right? I can't do that. I have to have like the guided meditation to like walk me through it. And then I'll be like, okay, I'm good now, right? Like I feel better. So I like that. And I like breathing exercise. I've done some breath work in the past, some Wim Hof stuff and Brian something or another. Box breathing and stuff like that. I remember the first time I tried some of that was at this conference for gym owners, and he got up and he was talking about it, and he's like, Jess, here's what we're going to do. He's like, just take a couple, nice relaxed breaths, and then I want you to exhale and then just hold and see how long you can go. The first moment that you have that like, panic, take a breath. But that's where your time is, right? And I was like, all right. And it was like 10 seconds. And and everybody else was like 30 seconds, 45. And I was like, oh God, I suck at breathing. Whatever.
I love the breath holds.
Yeah.
Do you ever play around with, have you ever done it like since then? Have you ever played around with it or tried to extend it?
Yeah. I mean, from that, I started working on it more. And I would do a lot of like 90-90 breathing with like, especially when I was like more into weightlifting and stuff. We use that for a lot of mobility and warm up stuff. A lot of different things like that, like breathing through stretches and how we can diaphragm it or belly breathing.
Diaphragmatic.
That's I was like, breathing. I started saying it and I was like, I don't know if that's an actual word. I could just be making shit up.
We both could.
We could be.
We both could.
Could be.
Who knows?
That's a fact.
Tell me about your year, dude.
Ooh, man.
It was January last year.
So it started, honestly, in my, at the company I work for, I was unhappy with the way things were going for me and had kind of decided that I was going to start looking around and had gotten an offer to go work for another company and had told my current company, I was like, hey, I think I'm going to submit my resignation. And they really didn't want to lose me. And they were like, hey, well, what can we do to keep you? So I had gotten a promotion and they're like, in January, we'll promote you. So kind of got to start my year with a super, cool thing is I got promoted to vice president of sales for my company, which is super cool.
Yeah, dude.
Kind of a big boy title, so I was really excited about that, and obviously came a lot more responsibility and work and stuff like that. And it was good to be recognized for some of that in the aspect of like the work I'd been doing and trying to make changes and stuff like that. So January got promoted, which really did kick off more like, hey, you got to travel more. So that was a big part of this year. Is I've been on the road a bunch.
You travel a lot, dude.
It's funny. I don't actually feel like, comparatively to when I see other people travel, like I only have one trip this year or this month, right? But I think, this year I think I'll wrap up at just under 100 days on the road.
It's too fucking much.
Yeah, it's a bit.
Hey, real quick, if you're just somebody that listens to podcasts, thank you. But if you want to watch us week after week, jump over to our YouTube channel. Just search out Brave Mendare. Click that subscribe button. Don't forget the little notification bell and come see what we're all about week after week on the podcast. We share tons of content there as well, and we even have some plans in the future to do some live episodes. So come subscribe to us on YouTube And while you're at it, you might as well follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok as well. We hope you're enjoying this episode. Let's get back to it.
But, it's been good. Got a chance to do some different things with work, and had some really cool things come up. And so let's see, January we worked. February, what do we do in February? February, I don't know what we did in February. That's the hard part, is because I feel like I am just bouncing around so much. For me to look back and be like, oh.
I think traveling does that to you. I remember when I was traveling, because back when I had that job with Dream Pod, prior to 2020, I was out 2 or 3 times a month.
Yeah.
So it was a very consistent thing for years where I was gone all the time. Mm-hmm. And it just, you don't have a concept. You're just like, wherever I'm at is what I'm doing. Whatever 100%. I'm doing, I don't know where it's just this chaotic time period. So I think that's a big contributing factor.
So we traveled. We had, I'm trying to think, just other big things that happened this year. I mean, we had the camping trip. I turned 40 this year. That was a big deal. That was a big deal.
How's that been sitting with you?
I honestly don't think about it too much.
Cool. Moving on.
Yeah. It's one of those I'm getting older.
Yeah.
Right? It is what it is. I don't ever wake up and oh, fuck, I'm 40. Doesn't really bother me that much. Age is age. I'm going to try and make the most of it while I've got it. Jiu-jitsu, got promoted to purple belt, right? That was cool. Some would say too fast.
Some might. Fuck them.
They don't want to roll with me.
Exactly. Yeah. Let them say it. Come say that. Hold on, I can't hear you. Get a little bit closer. What'd you say?
Come here,
You think I got this purple belt a little too fast? Cool, let's roll with it.
Yeah,
come take it.
Yeah.
Come get it from me.
Come get it. Yeah. You can get it off if you can come get it off me.
Exactly.
You can have it back. So that was cool. And it was cool. It was a surprise, right? I didn't necessarily know that was going to happen. You always kind of had this that could happen, right? But it was cool that it happened. So I like that. We camping trip. Yeah, I'm not real good at this. We did a family trip, and God, my memory's terrible. My wife's going to look at me and she's like, we did so much. I'm like, I know.
You don't remember February?
Yeah, right? Yeah. And she's like, we did all. I'm like, oh, yeah. There were some other things I started building my cross. I'm sitting there, I'm like, do I want to talk about that? I don't know if I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I started building my cross cart project in this year, which is fun. Haven't touched it in 5 months now because I've been super busy, but I'm excited. I'm prepping to get back into it, so I'm excited about that. We did a big trip in August back to San Diego. It was super. One of those things we did a trip. We went there for a week. And I got to, because I travel so much, I got to buy my family's tickets and my mom, and then we brought my niece, my sister's daughter, who's a teenager. She had just turned 13, so we brought her kind of for her birthday. We brought her to San Diego. We rented a nice house, up in the hills, had a pool, beautiful views, got to go to the beach, got to have good food, see friends. Super fun, right?
Isn't there a nude beach in San Diego?
There is. Black's Beach.
Black's Beach, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Have you?
Yeah.
Did you participate fully?
I did. Got
Nice.
a sunburn. I'm a dick because I am an idiot.
Got a sunburn. I'm a dick.
Yep. Because it was overcast and I didn't think anything about it. And
those UV rays will still get you.
It'll get you,
especially if it's a part that's not familiar with
the sun.
Yeah.
It's a little sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was definitely one of those the next day that feels weird. I have a problem. Oh, good. So, went to. We didn't go to Sandy. We didn't go to Black's Beach on that trip.
Part of that
trip. Just my mom wasn't that interested, and I was like party pooper. So we got to do that. We got to go. We just came back from our work trip up in Vancouver. Right, we were up in British Columbia. That was super fun. Got to do that. Got we have kind of started our planning process. My parents live up in the mountains, like an hour from us, and we have our property, and we've decided that we like each other more than the hour drive. So we're trying to find a piece of property, and we're going to start a family compound, which is an exciting kind of like process. We haven't really started any of that. We've looked at a few places, but I think we've kind of made the decision that we're going to find a piece of property and build new houses on those. And my mom and dad will sell their house, we'll sell ours, and we'll move when those are done or something like that. I mean, one of them's actually right down the road here.
I know.
There was a piece of property right down the road here.
Is that the one you said wasn't very good, or
No. This is a different one.
Okay.
So the other one was down 58 more. This one's on Sneed. It's like 70 something acres. And I know.
Come on, dude.
I know, right? I was literally like, I mean, look at that.
Sounds fucking great to me.
Right? And you guys have high speed. You guys have fiber.
Yeah, we got good internet.
You got that good internet, right? Man, I could go for some of that good internet.
Yeah.
Right? Feel like a crackhead looking for that good internet.
It's good.
Yeah, it's so good. Man, you got that good internet. So I'm not really doing a great job going in.
What's like, if you had to look back, what stands out to you? And it does, like, sometimes I think when we put the parameters of like the last year, then your brain goes like, okay, January, February, but like this phase of your life, what are some things that stand out to you as far as like markers in this point of your life?
I started wearing a lot more polos.
Cool.
Yep. Trying to be a professional dad. Really spent a lot of time focusing on like what is things that make me happy and just being cognizant of those, as opposed to like trying to not always be on the chop wood, carry water. Like, what can I do? Like, that's important. I 100%, like, you got to provide, right? I think that's super important to make sure that everybody's taken care of and we've got shelter and food and clothing, you know, the basic Maslow's needs. But at the same time, like, what are things I can do for myself? Which is like the cross cart was a big thing, like really getting back into working with my hands on projects and stuff like that and that's really where I feel like I had more time and maybe some freedom and availability earlier in the year. My travel schedule wasn't super busy, that kind of like February to May timeframe. I wasn't doing a ton of travel. So I had more time to work on things, and I really enjoyed that. And that really helped keep me a little more balanced. But then as the travels, I mean, in October, I think I was gone all but one weekend, right? And then like some of those were multi-day. I mean, yeah, I was in Chicago. I was on the road for, I think in October I was on the road over half the month, right? So a ton. And then September and July and August were almost as much. November was a little less. And then we just have one trip coming this weekend. But so that really helped kind of like balance me more. And unfortunately, as I got busier, the thing that was helping me stay balanced kind of went to the wayside. So I need to get back into that. And
I was going to ask you if you kind of have plans to bring some of that balance back.
Yeah, that's what actually, so my hope is, got a couple of things going, might make some transitions in the job field. Not 100% sure. I think, and this has been, I want to continue to expand in my career, in leadership and sales and stuff like that. I'm not 100% sure what that looks like, but I think there might be, even to the point I was having a conversation with Jamie, like, yeah, I'm I run our small to medium business sales team, right? So they, individual gyms and stuff like that we work with, but I don't really have any experiences in like enterprise sales, and that might be something that I need. Like, I need that quiver in my, or that arrow in my quiver to say that I've done that, so I can experience it to help me be a more better.
What would enterprise sales mean? I don't understand what that signifies.
Yeah. So
Are you selling like Starship Enterprises?
Not quite Starship Enterprises.
Okay.
Like larger deals. So like just an example, the average deal that one of my team members would work on, or that I help, or whatever you want to call it, is for a year's revenue. We call it ARR, right? Annual recurring revenue. So that value is anywhere between $2,000 to maybe $10,000. We have a really short sales cycle. So somebody goes to the website, says, hey, I'm interested in learning more about this. They book the call, their demo. Normally they do a demo within 24 or 48 hours. And we normally close within another 48 hours. So less than a week on average sales cycle. Really fast. Normally we're talking to one decision maker. The person who booked the demo is the decision maker. Not a super in-depth process.
Okay.
But a enterprise sales would be normally a longer sales cycle, you got to get buy-in from multiple levels. So you might meet with, as an example, if you were selling something that had to do with like operations, you could meet with the operations manager and they're excited about it. And then they need to bring in the director of operations. You got to show them and make sure that they're happy about it. And then you've got to send proposals, and then it's got to get, hey, we need to secure funding. And you go through this much longer process, and there's different levels and decision makers in that process. It's a bigger deal, but that valuation of that deal could be 20 grand. It could be $500,000. And that's where I don't have as much experience. Like I've done some bigger deals, right? I've worked with some larger companies and like stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But that could be, it's a hole in my game. If somebody's like, hey, we want you to do some enterprise sales, or hey, can you run this enterprise sales team? I don't have a lot of experience in that. So great opportunity for me to learn more about that.
Yeah.
And it could also be an opportunity for me, like, hey, you're the guy in charge of this whole team and all this, to like, I'm just going to go do some sales, right? Like way less stress.
Yeah.
Right. Might do that. There's an opportunity, couple different opportunities out there where I might go back into another sales leadership role in a different company, doing different things. Not sure. Might do my own thing.
Yeah.
Right. Really not sure about that. Looking into some other opportunities around, might get back into the gym game. Right. Trying to figure out what all that means. But I think that there's some really, I'm excited for, like, I know that people get, like, change can freak a lot of people out. I don't mind change as much. I think from my time in the military, where a lot of things do stay the same, but a lot of things change.
Yeah.
Right. I am pretty quick to deal with change and to be like, all right. I also am real quick to bet on myself and just know that it doesn't matter what happens. Like, we're going to be fine. Mm-hmm. Right. That this morning, like, we had a little, Jamie and I had to sit down and talk about, just, she's feeling unsure, uneasy, a little stressed out about just things that are coming up. Right. Am I going to make a career change? Like, what's this look like? I don't know. And that can be really scary. And for her, she's like, hey, yeah. What are we doing about all this? And I'm over here like, it's going to be great. And she's like, you can't just say that. I'm like, I can. Because I believe in myself. I know that I have a unique set of skills. I can always fall back into some other roles and jobs if need be. There is no shortage of things that I can do to make money.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with, maybe this doesn't work out and I have to go do something else. Okay. Right. It's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. I'm not afraid of the effort, the work. And the same as like, I was talking to a friend of mine who is in enterprise sales, and he was just like, you think you can just walk, and he was joking. He's like, you can just walk into my world and do what I do. And I looked at him, I was like, you should be afraid that I come to your world. And he just kind of laughed, and he's like, yeah, slightly, like, I was like, yeah, man, like, cause I'll bet on myself every day.
Yeah.
But I also, it's been a real interesting year with the kids. Nora just turned 7. Lincoln's he'll be 10 next year, and really trying to go through some of this stuff. Oh man, this got me last night. We're sitting there. So Lincoln's trying out for rec league basketball.
Okay.
Right. And there are 50 kids, and there's this guy who obviously has been doing this for a long time. He's got his whistle, and I'm like, I'm digging this guy's energy. He's like, hey, you're gonna fucking. He's not swearing at the kids, but
Yeah.
he's like, hey, I'm in control.
Kids paying attention.
Totally. And the kids are all watching and they're listening. And there's a fucking 500,000 of them standing there, and he's like, all right, and he stops everybody. He's like, hey, who's tired? Lincoln, thinking that this is just a great opportunity to joke around, is like, I'm tired. And everybody's like, put your hand down. Like, stop. And he's like, no, what? He asked, I'm tired. Like, he's like, I'll be tired. And I saw him do this, and I was like, fuck it. You just are so blind to all these things. And I don't know how to help him with these experiences. And so he puts his hand down, and they're like, all right, we're going to keep going, and all this stuff. Coach doesn't really notice this, I hope. And we get in the car, and I'm like, dude, what's up with that? And he's like, what? He's like, I just thought it was funny. I was like, what would you have done if he would have said, like, oh, you're tired? Go home. You don't want to be here. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, that's what that can be. I was like, you've got a coach who's trying to help you, wants to teach you, and you're here trying out doing skills test. And he's like, who's tired? And you raise your hand. And I was like, he could have just been like, yeah, go home. I don't want you on our team if you're tired and we haven't even done anything. Yeah. You think it's funny? He's like, go home. And he was kind of like, well, that's not really fair. I'm like, who said life was going to be fair, kid? Trying to, and then I felt bad. I don't know if felt bad's the right word. Might have went a little too far. I love
part of you that felt bad?
No.
Sounds like it.
Well, I feel bad that this is the way that I'm trying to get the message across, because I can hear him, and he's like, yeah, okay. But I'm like, dude, this is not sinking in. You're not getting it. Because you're just going to do it again, right? And again and again and again. And until this really hits home, like, you're just going to be struggling. And I was thought of Molly's Game. Have you seen Molly's Game? When it's like, yeah, Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner, yeah. And she's like, I'm tired. And he's like, what's a synonym for tired? Weak. And she's like, I'll go again. And I was like, yeah. I was like, what's another word for tired? And he's like, sleepy. And I was like, weak. And you could just see him like, oh. I was like, are you weak? And he's like, no. And I'm like, that's what you were trying to tell him. He was asking, like, who needs to quit? Who needs to stop? And you were saying, I do. Yeah. And he was just kind of like, oh. So, but it's been real hard with Lincoln. He's at this age where he thinks he's like overhearing the adults say things. So he's trying to like say some like witty things. And I'm like, first of all, watch your fucking mouth, right? You don't talk to me that way. And
it is so fun watching you.
Is it?
It's so fun. Because he's at a really fun age. And it's an age that we've been through as parents, right? I love it. It's so fun watching you navigate it. Because it's a shit show. It's so hard.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I'm just sitting back being like, oh, this is so fucking fun. I'm so glad I don't have to fucking do any of this.
I'm glad. I appreciate that. I don't know. Like, I constantly am questioning myself. Like, I feel... and I've shared with him and Nora, like, I am your father, and I will always love you, and nothing will ever change that. It doesn't mean I'm going to like you. Mm-hmm. And my job isn't for you to like me. You can think I'm a total asshole, but as long as you grow up not to be an asshole, I did my job, right? If I would hate this to happen, obviously, but like if he turns 21 and is like, I never want to talk to my dad again, but everybody who ever meets him says what a good person he is, then I did my fucking job. Mm-hmm. That's my goal, is to make sure that he is a productive member of society who is not a drain, who can take care of himself and be an adult, a man in my eyes, right? And that's my job. And if he gets to that point, I did a great job. But you gotta have these lessons, and you gotta and it's hard. And I don't know if part of it's because he's going through such a different journey in early life than I did. Like, very fortunate that because of work and everything that we do, like, he's not going to, I'm not concerned that my son's going to, he's not going to grow up and remember what it was not to have electricity.
Mm-hmm.
My son's not going to know homelessness. You know, like my son's not going to know my son will never know what government cheese tastes like. Right. And I'm not saying that that is a thing to like pound your chest against or anything like that. But there's like, why will I always bet on myself? Because I've seen hardship. Like there's not a thing that you could throw at me that I don't think I could overcome, minus some major loss of my family. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be too detrimental for me. But anything that's outside of that, like it doesn't matter. I will overcome this. Like we will be fine. We will get through it and we will prosper. And he doesn't have that same adversity, that same, just knowledge of it. Right. And the idea, like he leaves jackets at school and he's like, Jamie will buy him a new jacket because it's getting cold out. He loses it and he's like, yeah, I lost my jacket. Like he knows that mom's going to buy him another one. And I remember going like, I wore the same torn jacket for years because it was like, yeah, that's your winter coat, kid. Like, and if you don't have that, then you don't have a winter coat.
Yeah.
You know, put on 4 sweatshirts and that's what you're going to be for a winter coat, you know? And obviously it's much colder in Michigan, so it's a bigger deal. You know, people die there from the cold. Not so much here, but and like, so I think about this stuff and it's like, yeah, like I want him to have adversity and I want him to try to learn and grow from that. So sometimes you've got to artificially create it. And sometimes like you got to help him understand like, yeah, man, like he's in this real big, like, can we do this? And it's all about him. And it's me. And I, you know, last night I got home after that and they were going on and on. I was like, when was the last time you did something for your mom as opposed to asking her to do something for you? Think about how you can help other people, not just like what they can do for you.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Jamie's like, just calm down. And I'm like, no, like, because I don't think it's something that I can just say, I'm going to stick to this right now. And then not tomorrow. And then maybe the next day. It's got to be consistent, right? Like,
what if it's not consistent? What's the result?
I think the result is that it creates uncertainty and then like if it's one of those like where he can, and if the kids can get in the backseat of the car and yell and hoot and holler and just be as loud as they want on this day and it's okay. And then the next day I'm like, what are you doing? Knock it off. It creates this inconsistency in parenting, right? And I think then they're kind of like, can we do that? But if you are consistent in these are the rules and how we apply them and how we act and stuff like that, then they can say like that starts to build more of a structure and a framework in things. And I think that can be very, very important. I think that there's a great opportunity for not structured things, but when it comes to being an asshole, like there should be some structure, right? Like if you're going to be an asshole, be a structured asshole. I really want to make sure that he doesn't grow up to be an asshole.
Yeah.
That's really my biggest goal. Like I don't want him to be a spoiled brat. I don't want him to be an asshole. He's like, can I get a PS5 for Christmas? And I was like, I'll buy you a PS5 so I can take it outside and hit it with a hammer. Like, just to show you adversity. I don't think that you need that, right? Like, and I also am like, if you got a PS5, I would just sit there and play it. So
yeah,
we shouldn't do that. I should do better things with my day. So got that. And then, you know, just Nora is learning to be a girl, right? And that's hard, and working through them and their sports and activities and trying to just be a good husband and be supportive of my wife and my children and making sure that at the same time, I don't want them to want for anything, right? I want them to have a better upbringing than I did. So it's a balance.
It's so hard.
It is.
It's so freaking hard.
Yeah.
I'm at the point with it now, especially because all the kids are older and everything, right? It's so much different for me. But and it's the same thing even with my relationship with Steph. The only thing I'm focused on is myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's only me, and it's what I can do to make myself be better. And it's how can I become the best version of myself so that I can be that for all of these different people that I love. But first and foremost, it's for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that mindset for the vast majority of my life. It was very much trying to think about everybody else and how to meet their needs and how to do all these kind of different things. But specifically when it comes to being a father and raising kids, I think it's one of the things that, because I didn't have a really, when I say a good example, like I had next to no example of what it looked like. So it's just been trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it is very much this just like nightmarish event of trying to unpack what's right, what's wrong, how am I succeeding in this area, how am I failing in this area, how do I do this right, how do I do that right? And then the whole goal is, like you said, right, I want my kids to be happy and healthy. And I just want them to be able to live the lives that they want to live and be who they want to be and all those kind of different things. And at the end of the day, I don't want to get in the way of that. I want to be something that contributes to that, that helps with that experience rather than detracts from that experience. And then all of that stuff too of like, how do I teach them? Like I'm in the same boat with Asher. He's 18 right now, and I'm trying to figure out like, how do I teach him how to be responsible and how to do all of these kind of different things in life? And more and more and more, I find that it's way less of how do I teach him how to do anything and how do I deal with what it's bringing up inside of me? How do I meet all of the needs inside of me that are in relation to what he's going through and experiencing? I'll get super hyper focused on what he's doing.
Yeah.
And it's my way of avoiding dealing with what I'm feeling in relation to what he's doing. Because what he's doing doesn't necessarily matter. And that's not to say it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's important. But in the grand scheme of things, like what he's choosing to do right now in his life is exactly what he should be doing, right? He's living his life, doing his thing.
Trying to figure it out. And my reaction to it, that's my fucking job. That's my own work. That's my own business. It's not figure out what he's doing and fix his shit. So then that way I don't have to feel like I'm failing as a father or that I'm letting him down or that, all of these things that are about how I'm feeling rather than what he's going through and what he's experiencing. And I can look at the course of my life as a father, and I wish that that's how I would have been doing it from the beginning, is really just creating a space for them to have their experiences in the safest way possible, so that way there's a safe, soft place for them to land, a place for them to come back to, so that they, don't have to try to navigate all of those things. Because at the end of the day, like, it's their life, dude. Like they're having it. And you're just a role in it. Yeah. You're just playing dad in their life. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I love, I've thought about this more than once now, is you telling me the story of Asher fixing his alternator and you like, and you were just like, I'm your assistant here. Like, I'm going to help you. What do you want me to do? And let him make the decisions. But the whole taking back the old one as the replacement, and then like the guy at the counter being like, what are you talking about? So and then you having to finally be like, all right, let's talk about what's going on here, right?
So
and then and it's one of those things, like, it's an experience for him, right?
Yeah.
Because he hasn't been in this kind of spot before, probably. And he's like, no, this will be fine. And then that realization, like, nope.
Yeah.
That's
it
not
was so fucking funny, dude.
Dude, I can't.
Because he gets the broken alternator that's the new alternator is on his car.
Yeah.
And it's got a warranty, and he's so excited that he's got a warranty for it. And in my head, I'm like, buddy, warranty's not what you think it is.
Yeah, warranty doesn't
Sometimes warranties are what we hope they are.
They are.
The majority of the time, they're not.
There's the company's not just out here like, let's make something that breaks all the time.
Yeah. The majority of the time, warranties are not actually helpful for you in the slightest. It's actually going to cost you more money.
Yep.
So I didn't bother explaining any of that to him. I'm just like, yeah. But his plan of like, I'm taking the old rusty shitty alternator,
the one that I already replaced,
I'm going to take that one back
and say, this is the one that I want you to replace that broke.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's his plan.
Yeah.
And he gets there and it immediately doesn't go the way that he thought it would.
I just can't imagine the guy, like the guy at the AutoZone or whatever, who's just like, what?
Yeah. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
It was fun. But that's the thing is it's like, especially when he's, 18, but truthfully, I think Lincoln is at the age where, like, if I had advice for you, it would be to start implementing this kind of stuff immediately, because I think kids cross over this point where they just stop listening to parents.
Yeah.
Where it's not like they're not interested in any advice that you have to give. So problem solving, figuring out how to do this, how to do that. Did you think of this? Did you think of, they don't
Doesn't
fucking care
matter.
about any of that stuff.
Yep.
They don't like hear it anymore, right? They're not coming to you to fix things and to solve problems.
Yeah.
You have one goal, like you are just a thing in their life that serves a purpose. You're meeting a need. And if you don't meet that need for me, cool. I'll move on to mom or I'll move on to whatever else, right? I'm not care about your fucking life lessons, Dad. Don't fucking teach me anything right now. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Right.
It's way different today than it was when you were a kid.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
But just getting to that spot where you can just let them figure it out.
Well, and I think
then
that
just help them in that process of being like, okay. And without, that's the hard part for me, is doing it without judgment and without being like, oh, didn't fucking work out the way you thought it would, huh, dumbass? Should fucking listen to me from the get-go. Saved us all this fucking time and energy. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was raised with, right? It's people making fun of me for all the stupid shit that I did. Instead, it's just being like, oh, yeah, well, what should we do now? What's next? Right.
Yeah.
And then I have found that by doing it that way, they eventually get to that spot where they're like, what do you think?
Yeah.
And then it's the opportunity to be like, well, maybe we should try this.
Yeah. And I think that's the hard part of that. And I agree. I think that would be great. I think sometimes, especially for like them as younger, right, as like the consequences of that, like, yeah, man, you lost your water bottle. We've bought you 12 of them in this year.
Yeah.
Like we literally go through one a month almost. Now you don't have a water bottle.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And, and Jamie's over here like, well, they need a water bottle. And I'm like, there's drinking fountains. That'll be fine. I mean, like, I've been using, not that I lost my water bottle, but I've been using this for 2 weeks now. Right? This has been my water bottle. And I was just like, yeah, this is better for me because it's 50. It's more than
your other water bottle.
My other water bottle.
The one that you lost.
And no, I didn't lose it. I still have it. And it's also because the other one's got the straw and I can't get the same, there's not enough fluid coming in fast enough.
Yeah.
I can drink this faster, which helps me.
Yeah, I can't do straws. Yeah, it's so hard though. Like the dynamic of letting them fail.
Yeah.
And the importance of that.
Yeah.
And then also just how do you let them fail, especially when it comes to the things that are really scary.
Yeah.
Like the parts of life that you don't want them to have to suffer through and experience. And then still, like, that's the thing is like, no matter what you do, obviously they're going to experience shitty stuff. They're going to have to navigate and go through really challenging things. And the idea that you're going to stop all of those as a parent, like you might get 1 out of 10 when it comes to like the really shitty stuff that life throws at them.
Yeah.
You might be able to deflect and kind of redirect 1 or 2 of those things. But the reality is you can't.
Yeah.
They're going to go through that stuff.
Yep.
And everybody has different stuff, right? And then it's just how do I support them through that process?
Yeah. What are your let's do this real quick, right?
Okay.
What are some of the bigger things that you are hopeful that, I don't know the best way to say this. What are some things you want to fucking happen in 2025? Let's speak that shit into existence.
Okay. Well, this is what I'm all about is future casting out into the future.
Yep.
And in 2025, I think about things in like podcasting wise, I think everything is going to continue. And especially with our podcast with Brave Mendare, it's just more. We're just going to be doing more. I'm excited to see how it continues to grow and expand and evolve and whatever's coming next for it. As far as like me personally, gosh, Ben, it's kind of hard right now because I'm at a really fluid spot with what I am truthfully feeling of what's coming for me. And trying to figure out like where I want to direct my energy and what I want to do next. And so I know that I want to make more content and more creative content in the way that I want to do content. And it's less about content. I want to do more storytelling and more filmmaking. And so it's how can I lean into that? So really big stuff for me would be like, it's hard because I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. You don't have to.
I know, but it's only out of insecurity. It's not out of anything else. There's I love using, like, I really recognized that I love the way that I visualize and see things, and then being able to put those things actually together and having them work and like make sense and fit, like being able to actually create something content wise through film and tell a story and do all of that. Like the idea that I'm able to do that at this point in my life excites me to like no end. Like I'm so jazzed at the idea that this is what I get to do and that I get to do it now for like, I don't have anything in the way.
Yeah.
Right? I've got everything that I need and I'm excited about that. So I want to make, Stephanie and I are talking a lot about different type of shows that we're going to make. And I don't quite yet know which direction I'm going to go with it. And it's not out of like, truthfully, it's just the creative process. I've got a couple of different things in the pipeline as far as like my creative thought processes goes. And once I get those things going and start creating those things, then what's going to happen is the next thing is going to float up to the surface. And so it looks like I want to do some sort of show. And the reason I can't speak specifics to it is because I got a couple of different ideas.
Okay.
Where it might be more kind of short documentary type stuff that's highlighting our experiences. It might be some real fictional stuff. I've had a lot of fun creating like different, like we have these ideas that we put together when we're out driving around together or laying in bed or anything or something like that. And I'm like, this would be so much fun. And that's what next year is going to look like for me, is really exploring and playing around with the type of stories that I can tell through content and through film and these different kind of components. And I don't really know exactly what it's going to all shake out and look like, but I'm fucking excited as all get out. And I had this experience recently where I put together this piece of content, and it was like the first time that I ever sat down and created what felt like it felt like a creative process to me, which I hadn't had that yet, because I put together all of these different pieces of, we recorded a bunch of stuff over the course of several weeks, because I'm constantly like pulling out my phone and recording stuff. And I hold on to it for a while. And then we had some stuff that we talked about on the podcast. And I was like, that might look good. That might look good. And so I started to like storyboard and put together this thing in my head. And then I sat down and allowed myself like completely uninterrupted time to create and to put it all together. And what happened was it did happen where it was like, it came together in the creative process of putting together these different clips in conjunction with sound and music and all these, like the editing process of putting it all together. And it became this thing that I didn't realize that it was going to become. It came through the process of creating it. And when I got done with all of it, I was just like, holy shit, that was so fucking cool. Like I've had moments of tapping into like that creative place that feels, it's kind of like, what do they call it? They refer to it as like the flow state. That's the word I was looking for. Where it feels like the thing is coming through me rather than I'm the one that's doing it, right? And having experienced that, I was like, it was a real eye-opening experience where it's like, okay, I have something here that is a palpable thing that I actually love doing and can do and am doing. So that is what I'm going to be doing more of for 2025, is giving myself the space and time to create whatever it is that I choose to. And it might look like some, like we talk about, like the Steph and Craig show is the name of the podcast, But when we originally thought about the Steph and Craig show, at the same time, I was like, we'll do a podcast, but then we're also going to do a legitimate show in conjunction with it, like a TV show or a series in conjunction with it. And I've played around with like what that looks like in different ways, like a sitcom or all these kind of funny things. And I don't know yet what that's going to be, but there'll be some component of that where we put together a show in conjunction with, and it's not in conjunction with the podcast, meaning, I mean, they might cross over and have some parallels, but I'm going to be doing that. And I don't know what the fuck that is yet.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of different things. It might be documentary style stuff where it's, you know, us talking about, you know,
the
emotional
process.
things,
Yeah.
the process. And it might be 100% like fictional,
Dragons.
created, no, not necessarily dragons, maybe dragons.
Dragons are real.
Maybe dragons.
Joe Rogan says so.
Dragons are real.
Right?
So that's what's coming for me next year. And I'm excited to all get out because I know that it's going to be like, you know, it's just going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Stephanie and I have our anniversary next year, 10-year anniversary.
Yep.
And I don't know yet, because I threw out this big idea a few months ago, where we were talking and I'm like, we should do these 10 trips. And it's this big audacious thing that I want to do. And I think we could really do it, but I don't see how it works yet. So that might come together in some way. I know that that will actually come together in some way, but it's going to look differently than I can kind of see it right now. And then I also think that the layers of stuff that I'm shedding and kind of getting rid of, as far as between me and essentially it's like all this shit that how much more stuff can I get rid of in between me and being myself? Like I just really truthfully just want to live and breathe and be whoever I am, whenever I am, however I am, all the time. And I don't want anything in the way of that. So then I have to go through and get rid of all the stuff that's in the way of that.
Mm-hmm.
So there'll be more of that. And I honestly don't know what that is to the fullest extent yet, because I feel like I still haven't seen the full version of what that's going to look like for myself yet. But I don't know if I'll ever will either, right? It's an ever-changing kind of evolving thing.
Yeah.
But so those are big things, at least in my space. And then, yeah, I'm just excited to see kind of what comes out of all of it. Because I haven't figured out yet how to, like, what we're going to be doing with all of it. But I feel like something is definitely in the works. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's super elusive. It's hard because
totally
because it's like this weird creative thing. Where it's like I'm going to make some.
You're still in the creative, like kind of like idea, that flow kind of stage of like creating the thought.
Yes.
Of what it could be. So it's really hard to say what it will be when you're still trying to create the thought of what it will be.
Yeah, because like I'm tired of creating content that we have been creating, that Steph and I've been creating. I'm just tired of it. It's boring to me. It's not engaging to me. And social media keeps you stuck in these niches.
Yeah.
And I hate it. And I used to just be like, whatever, and it's the niche and you just got to deal with it. But truthfully, I want to create stuff that tells our story in a different way that I feel like is more, not necessarily approachable, but more relatable. And I had this idea the other day where, do you remember that show? It was a sitcom. Actually, it was like a drama back in the 80s called 30-something. Not ringing a bell. Yeah, it didn't ring a bell for Steph either. I had to pull it up and show it. It was a great show that nobody remembers, right? Except this guy. And so I want to do this show called 40-something.
Okay.
And the way that I'm going to do it is I'm just going to we're going to create some reels, but they're just like these snapshots of our life. But it's not, I don't know how to describe it. I tried explaining it to
Just start with
Steph,
like the snapshot, you getting out of bed and everything hurts and...
Kind of like that's, that might be a scene, but it's just like these little scenes. It's almost like if you were to just...
You're like looking at the book and you're like... yeah, so we're gonna do
yeah, it's kind of that. It's kind of just these behind the scene looks, but it's not even behind the scenes. It's just these little snapshots of what life is like for us. And I think
40-something.
It's 40-something, right? I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate because a lot of people are in their 40s going through very similar experiences.
Like, did you buy shitty toilet paper? Like,
don't get me started on toilet paper. There's a whole thing, like, we bought an entire case from fucking Costco that was the wrong toilet paper. And I'm like, this is a nightmare.
This is a nightmare. That is, there are very few things in this world that I can, like...
Right? When you get the toilet paper thing figured out, then you're halfway there.
We used to, at my gym, we had a 5-star review. It just said best toilet paper I've ever used at a gym. And people would be like, dude, you buy like the good stuff. I was like, I'm here all day long. Like, I'm not buying that shit for you. I'm buying it for me. Like, I'll spend the extra $10 so I don't have to worry about this problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good toilet paper. I'm interested to see 40-something.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what I end up creating out of all of it. Steph's going through a big transition herself as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this thing where we're going to be expanding in regards to kind of how we're showing up in the world. And it'll be less about like the Steph and Craig show and more about what Steph's doing and more about what Craig's doing. And then there's going to be plenty of crossover, obviously, in that space. And
that's cool.
Yeah. So I've got content ideas for you that I actually want to run by you.
Okay.
Some different things, because I'm, again, recognizing that I've got this creative fucking thing that keeps wanting to come out of me in this fashion, and I just fucking love it. Awesome. So I'm just going to start leaning into it way heavy and seeing where it takes me.
I'm excited, dude. It'll be good.
What about you?
I have some more kind of specific things. I want to, I don't know if I can complete it, but I would like to I want to get early in the year, 2025, I want to get started on finishing my degree. Just because I just need to get that like tied up. So I want to get that done. I would like to break ground on the family compound. I would like to take my career in the next step. Whether, again, not sure if that's a step forward, and I don't want to say a step back, but a lateral, or maybe a step back to take one step back, 2 steps forward, or something like that. Unsure, but next thing in that, I want to do another family only vacation. I really had a great time with that. I would like to do another one of those, and. What I say? Degree, career, house, family trip, and I want to finish my cross cart. Those are the 5 things that I need to happen in 2025.
It's a good list,
right? I think
totally doable.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, I've probably a month or 2 away from being done, like of effort in my cross cart. So I'm excited to get that done. Really, I mean, we've been actively looking for places with the family compound, so I'd like to get that process moving along.
Yeah, I mean, if that thing happens next year, that'll be huge. That's a big deal too, right?
Yeah,
that's not just moving and buying a house.
Yeah, it's a big, like, we'll be building a house. My parents will be building a house, and then we'll be building a community, or like a family barn / community area. That'll be big.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, along with that goes, like, does Jamie bring her, because she boards her horse? Like, does the horse come to the property? Then do we have the horse at home? Like, no, we need a horse trailer. Like, there's all kinds of things that go into all this stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are really my big things. I really had a great time with our family trip. I would love to do another one of those. Looking forward to the next step in my career, right? Wherever that takes me. Definitely want to finish my degree, just because it's one of those things, like, I've gotten to where I am today without it, but I know that it does hold me back in certain times. Oh, that was the other thing. I just got invited to be an advisor at the University of Tennessee's marketing department. So I will be on the advisory board for the University of Tennessee's marketing department, which I thought it was super cool. Like, they reached out, they're like, "Hey, we're looking for somebody like you." Did an interview, and they're like, "Yeah, we'd love to have you do this." And I was like, "All right, cool.
That's way cool."
Yeah, it's a voluntary, thing, but it's still, I get to have my bio on the UT website. That's cool.
That's way cool, dude.
Right. part of my like goal is I want to finish my degree so then I can go there and do my MBA. They've got an executive MBA that is like an accelerated for people who have been in business and stuff for a while. Those are my 5 things, and then maybe a 4th on that or a 6th on that would be coming to a decision if we're going to leave the gym space behind for personally.
Yeah.
Not that I'm going to leave the gym or anything like that, but like, am I done with my gym ownership path?
Mm-hmm.
Not sure.
I feel like if I'm looking at Ben from the outside, right, from where I'm sitting over here, I'm excited for next year for you. I feel like it's going to be I feel like it's a big transition year. That's kind of what it feels like for me when it comes to you. I feel like you're going to come up to some things that are going to be really big shifts and changes for you.
Mm-hmm.
And
might get a new truck.
Could be. I might get a new truck.
Right, there you go.
Supposedly, because Steph got her Charger for her midlife crisis year, right? And mine's a Tacoma.
Tacoma, yeah.
So I might be coming into a Tacoma next year.
That'd be cool.
I'm super excited about. But I do feel like your next year is going to be a really big transition year for you.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm looking forward to it. You know, I think this 2024 has been great. I've really enjoyed it. I'm not necessarily saying that like I'm not looking forward to closing the chapter or closing the book on this or whatever that is, but I don't know.
Don't read a lot.
Yeah, don't read a lot.
Listening to Audible.
Yeah, it's in my.
I'm excited for this year to be fucking over.
Yeah, dude.
I'm so fucking tired of it. It's fuck this year,
Fuck you,
man.
2024.
Yeah, I'm so sick and tired of all the fucking nonsense and the shit. I really am just like, we're slowing down for the this time of year, and we're cutting things back, and we're trying to like just scale back the output of stuff. Like we're talking about going to 1 episode a week for Steph and Craig next year, and all these other kind of things. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't wait. I'm just so burned out from all the different things. So I'm excited for that. But
I get that. Awesome.
It's been fun, dude.
Yeah, man. It's been a great 2024, right?
It's been amazing. I loved everything about this year.
Yeah. Especially October.
Yeah. Next year. Stick around. Also, let's see, this one comes, I don't remember when this one comes out.
Yeah.
It'll be soon. But subscribe. Let us know. We, like Ben said earlier, we're going to have more interaction with people on this podcast, not just through guests and things like that. But if there's stuff that you want to hear about, if there's questions that you have, you can always send them. We actually haven't, we don't talk about it a lot, but you can email us questions.
bravemendare at gmail.com.
Gmail, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you can send in your questions or just throw them in the comments down below and we'll get to them. But the podcast isn't going anywhere. I'm excited.
Same.
For what 2025 has in store for us. So
right. That, gotta come up with a cool word for 2025.
It's a big year.
It's a big year.
I'm going to be 44.
I'm going to be 41.
41.
Yep.
Cool, dude.
Cool, man.
Love you, man.
Love you, bud.